It's about time. Which some people would express as, well, it's about time. Or, in the case of today, it's really about time. This life is all about time and patience and change and trust and knowing. And all of that circles back around to time. Leo Tolstoy accurately said, "The two most powerful warriors are patience and time." Change takes time. Patience is required of us as we wait through time. Trust is a huge part of the waiting. And knowing is what is supposed to keep us from getting super cranky as we wait and trust and change with patience. Sheesh, indeed. It's about time. Abraham Lincoln said that the best thing about the future is that it comes one day at a time. And I disagree. I don't think that's the best thing about the future. Sorry, Abe. What I find so interesting about time is that truly time is relative. And I'm guessing that you can all relate to this idea. Like when you're having fun and you're having a really good time and you're trying to hit every major ride at Disney World before the park closes, time goes really fast. It's running out. Or when you're spending time with a good friend or a beloved or someone you really enjoy and suddenly 4 hours have gone by. Exactly, just. Or those final moments of goodbye, whether at a bedside or at an airport or that last phone call, there just doesn't seem to be enough time. And then there are those other experiences, those interpreting assignments from hell that never seem to end. She knows. Or that lecture you went to that you thought was going to be absolutely fascinating, and sadly it really isn't, and you can't leave until it's done because you chose to sit in the middle of the row, and everyone on either side of you is enwrapped and fascinated and totally engaged. Endless time. Or that conversation that started out as, "Oh, can I just have a minute? I just need a minute." And it started out casually, and then as the conversation goes on, you can feel your life slipping away from you and the energy draining out of your body. Time just is infinite in those moments. I've also experienced that feeling of time slipping away, like that whole "I'll get to that" list, the phone calls, the emails, the Zumba class I was going to take. What happened? What happened to that time? It was all there. And our culture is obsessed with time. There are movies, there are television shows, there's all kinds of news shows that have the word time in them. Time is everywhere. One of my favorite time movies is Time Bandits. Does anybody remember this one? Little Chestnut from 1981. It's about a group of little people, and literally I mean like small people, and a young boy who steal a map of the entire universe. And they go traveling through time, dropping through time holes in order to steal. Well, the boy doesn't. The little people want to steal. And they've stolen the map from the Supreme Being. And so they go traveling through time, and then they have all these adventures until they meet up with Evil, capital E, who is actually really evil. And is he on there? There's Evil. And then they have their final comeuppance, and they have to deal with their consequences with the Supreme Being, played by Sir Ralph Richardson. It's a great little adventure. And then a more recent movie that uses time as a healing device is this one. It came out a few years ago. And, I was really cautious going in because I'm definitely not an Adam Sandler fan. And I was blown away, not only one, by the fact that he could pull this role off, because there's no comedy in this movie, but how sensitively he portrayed this character. And in this film, time is used as time unfolds after a tragedy. And it's used to manipulate, to used as a manipulation to avoid facing the truth. And it's also used as a weapon to punish people. And finally, it's acknowledged that the only thing that we need to heal the wounds that come so deep is time. Time is the only thing that's going to heal when life comes out from under us. Another really good one. And then, of course, there's Lost and Cloud Atlas, which, we always come back to. Lost used flashbacks, flash forwards, and I think it was the first and possibly still the only television show to use flash sidewayses. That's hard to say. They used the technique called flash sideways. And also Cloud Atlas kind of bent time for us to teach us how we learn and evolve through time. So time is everywhere. It's in our language everywhere. If you Google, which I love, and you're looking for just expressions of time, these are just a few that I found. A watch pot never boils. Slow and steady wins the race. Giving you a rough time. All the time in the world. The right place at the right time. All in good time, my pretty. All in good time. Wizard of Oz, please tell me you remember. Next time around, there's plenty of time. Time's running out. Find the time. Time on my hands, time on my side. Time to kill, give it time. Third time's a charm. Time is of the essence. Pass the time. Time will tell. And these two were my particular favorites because they're ridiculous. There's no time like the present. That's stating the obvious. And Eckhart Tolle kind of owns that one, I think now. And race against time. Good luck with that. And then, so those are like phrases and idioms and stuff. Then there's just the casual way we define time. So we have time off, time out, time served, time limit, time warp, wasted time, precious time, quality time, good timing, bad timing, time management, calling time, time flies, time change, once upon a time, time heals. And one of my favorites, take your time. That's an awesome one. If you've ever watched sports, which I don't really, but I know this much. An athlete at the foul line in basketball, or my favorite, the baseball player at home plate when he goes up to bat, or kickers in football, pretty much every sport I think except for hockey. They don't just walk out and do what they need to do. They walk out, they shake, they crick their neck, they got their rituals. How many times can you swivel the bat before you hit the ball? But they take their time because it's theirs. Nothing can happen until they dribble a couple times, cross themselves, whatever it is. They take their time because there's no like Oscar music coming on to steal their moment. It's like, and you got to do it. And so when I officiate weddings, I always advise the bride and whoever it is that's walking her down the aisle to hold, to wait, to take the time. I tell them, wait until the entire bridal party and everybody's set. And wait until you feel everyone in the room holding their breath. And then they rise and they turn and the bride appears. Take your time. Because what I like to advise them is, if all goes well, this is the only time you'll ever do this moment. So cherish it, hold it, and let people just suspend with you in that moment to take your time. It's so beautiful when it happens. It's just a beautiful thing. So one of the tricky things about time is that it's this individualized personal experience, because although time generally is an objective concept, it's happening, it's a very subjective experience. For example, as the interpreters in the room know, if you arrive for an assignment on time, you're late. So if the assignment is scheduled for 10, if you arrive at 10, you're late. 9:45 is on time. And if you're OCD like me, 9:30 is on time. 9:45, sketchy, might be a little late. And so this on time as late concept is a general, it's known in the interpreter world. You can ask any of them. And then there's party etiquette. I learned this the hard way. So most people, they send out a party invitation, email, invite, whatever, and they say, having a party, come on over, it starts at 8. So in my world, I have to be there at 7:45 because the party starts at 8 and I want to be on time. I'm not very party savvy, so what would happen is I would show up respectfully on time and the host would still be in the shower. There's no food out, they haven't vacuumed, the house is a mess. And they're like, what are you doing here? I'm like, well, the party starts at 8. You're a loser. Nobody comes until like 2 hours later. I'm like, well, that's already 10. I'm in bed. I'm leaving at 10. And so it's, these are these learning curves of what time means to each other. Also, by the way, just as a tip, if you ever want to get really good seats at the Beartooth for a movie, invite me. Invite me, because I will arrive on time an hour and a half early to be the first seat on the first bench right by the rope with my ticket and my cone. And I'm not kidding. Now, I can't always let you cut in, but I can save a seat once I get in. But that to me is on time for the Beartooth. If the movie starts at 5:30, I'm there at about 4. Staking my claim. Also, one more little insight into me. If you don't want me to go into a Jewish drama of panic, then when you leave and I say, hey, let me know you got home okay, please do. Please, just do. If I don't hear from you in an agreed upon amount of time, I'm going to start calling emergency rooms and losing it. I'm not kidding about that. So it's a perspective experience. Rumi says, come out of the circle of time and into the circle of love. Isn't that nice? In the past year, year and a half, I've played music for many memorials. And nothing brings me into the circle of love and into the circle of the present moment than those gatherings. Realizing that the true moment that we have to be in is the moment that we are in, the circle of love. And if I might if I can should on us just for 1 minute, just a little bit of shoulding. We really should cherish the time we have here in this life, with those we love, with each moment we're given. We just should, because we've got it. So here's the thing about time that's kind of wonky. Well, it's not really wonky, but I like saying it's wonky, so we'll go with that. Think back to a time in your life that was really difficult, and it might be now. But if there's a time in your past that was really challenging, and think about this, when we're in it, when we're in those moments of difficulty, of challenge, of pain, of hardship, it's scary and it's yucky, and it sometimes feels like it's never going to end. Like we are in that pit and we're looking up and we're like, that's it, I'm never getting out of here. And yet, when we get past it and things have turned around, we look back and say, wow, I made it through. I made it through. There's a Facebook meme I've seen recently that says something like, I'm at 100% success rate for surviving every day, or something like that, just about like that my success rate for living is 100% as of this moment. It's this idea that no matter where we were and how horrible we thought it was, it's over, or it will be over, and we'll be in this next moment. Here's an example. When Heather and I once flew from Boise to Seattle, that was the most horrifying flight ever. I don't even know how to describe how horrifying it is. You're in an airplane, hung by a string, and you're doing this. You're going up and down, and you're going side to side, and it's like you're just being flipped around by the air. It's horrible. And it's less than an hour. But it was the longest less than an hour ever, and it was horrible. And while I was in it, all I could think was, if I survive, I'm never doing this again, ever doing this again. And we did. And then it became a memory, and now it's, I would say, a funny story. I'm not sure it's funny yet. It's getting to be a funny story. It's still a little, yeah. And people say, time has no memory. I've heard people say that expression about childbirth. Like, my sister had this horrific childbirth and experience, and then she had another one, and I'm like, why are you having another one? Well, time has no memory. They just, like, people don't remember. With that flight, I will say that I totally remember. I will never do that flight again. However, generally speaking, time can have no memory. And yet some memories are so easily retrievable that not only can we remember them, but we remember them physically in our bodies. I used the word, they are re-experienceable. Yes, courtesy of Spirit Stone, another new vocabulary word to add to the world, experienceable. So as an example, I was talking to somebody the other day about bullying. I work with kids, and we were talking about the experience of bullying and feeling isolated. And when I was in 5th grade, I was bullied severely. And even though it's been 41 years, which, let me just say, is a time concept I have to take deep breaths during. Even though it's been 41 years, I can step back into that memory 100% in my body. I can remember how I felt. I can remember what my days were like. And every so often something will happen at work, and I will see that and I will feel it. Just like that. Just like I'm back in 5th grade. And so that, in that case, it's actually a helpful trigger because it increases my compassion for the kids. And so there's a way to twist that experience of flashing back, finding a way to use it as a tool. Some people do have that time has no memory experience, and that's great. They can look back on horrific experiences or difficult times and say, yeah, I went through that, and there's nothing, and that's great. That's such a healing experience to be able to look back at trauma, be able to talk about it from an objective point of view, and let it just become part of your story. It's kind of like from the helicopter perspective, looking down and saying, oh, I went through that because of this and I got to hear. Or like seeing the labyrinth from above. When you're in it, it's just a wall in front of you, but from above it's, oh yeah, I went that way, and it all makes sense. So it's always an opportunity to grow and learn and change. Time, patience, trust, knowing, all of that. In one of my favorite songs, the line says, I know that time brings change, and change takes time. And this is, it's such a simple statement, a simple sentiment, and yet it's so deeply profound. Because as time passes, change occurs. Even if we don't want it, even if we resist it, even if we fight against it, change happens. And when we do want to change, we need to allow time for that change to take place. Even though people say it, weight doesn't really fall off. It just doesn't. Hearts don't mend overnight. Habits don't stop pestering us immediately. Forgiveness doesn't just happen. These changes take time. So over time, change takes place. And when we desire change, the patience of time is a necessity. So Leonardo da Vinci said, in rivers, the water you touch is the last of what is past and the first of that which comes. So it is with the present time. So it's moving, boom. So the present time, there's this concept of perfect timing or divine timing, divine appointment. I've been hearing myself use that expression a lot lately, this idea of divine appointment. We're where we are by divine appointment. And it's not a coincidence, obviously, because we know there are no, well, it's all coincidence. There are no accidents. It's not really destiny, though. It's more like, so that's why that's happening right now. Okay. And it's wherever we need to be to receive, give, or experience what is necessary for us. It's that. We're right where we need to be, right on time. In time and on time. And so, thinking in that way, it's kind of like there's nowhere else we should have been. There's nowhere else we need to be, except right where we are. The person that we needed to meet showed up. The book we were looking for fell into our hands. This is a great story. 3 men were huddled around a cassette player, listening intently. And Alan Cohen writes this in Deep Breath of Life. He says, I entered into Victor's room and I heard a strong voice on the tape recorder. And it said, you are a divine being, created in the image and likeness of perfection. Live the life you were born to live and never compromise with fear. I was magnetized to the power and authority with which this speaker gave on this tape. And I listened to the whole lecture, and afterwards I asked Victor, who was that? Where can I get this tape? And the 3 fellows looked at each other, and Victor answered, I don't know. I said, how can you not know? Isn't there a label on it? And he said, the label's blank. I went to Radio Shack and bought a package of 3 cassette tapes. And this was on one of them. Good bumps. So we know that there are coincidences, and we know we have divine timing. Good bump moments like that are not miracles or accidents. They are divine appointments showing up like road signs, guiding us to our next step. So, as we come to a close, for those of you who are watching the time, this part's the most challenging for me. Trusting and knowing that everything is unfolding perfectly. Anybody else struggling with that? Anyone? It's in time, God's time, nature's time, universe's time. I can go out in the fall, in October, September, October, and I can try to counsel all the leaves as they move through their change. They don't need me to do that. The leaves, it's in their nature to grow, to change, to let go, and become something else in time by divine appointment. They don't need my help. So maybe we can work towards being more like leaves. Maybe we can work towards letting go of our attachment to time, allowing moments to flow without being disrespectful, creating what I'm calling now SST, Spiritual Standard Time. H.G. Wells said, we must not allow the clock and the calendar to bind us to the fact that each moment of life is a miracle and a mystery. So I guess, after all, it's not really about time. Let's pray. Oh, breathing into this now moment, just this one. We don't have to be anywhere else but right here. How good it is to step out of the bonds of time, to just be in the moment that we're in. To not worry about where we're going next. To just be now, here, relaxed, breathing, present. Noticing whatever's happening in our body when we do that. The resistance of our human mind to go, but there's stuff, but wait, but I hear you. Hang on. Because you know what? There's plenty of time. And so right now I can be here. I can release the tension in my shoulders and my jaw. I can be like that baseball player and just sort of shake it out. And relax into this now moment. And know that whatever it is that's on my plate, whatever we've all got on our plates for today or for the next week, it's taken care of in divine time already. Our participation is not to control it or make it happen. Our participation is to allow it to happen and to cooperate with it as it happens. And so, pulling from Rilke, in this prayer, my prayer is to live the questions now. My prayer is to beg us to be patient with what's ever on our hearts. To allow spirit, universe, nature, whatever word we have for that thing that's larger than us, to allow it to do its thing. And to not just sit back and wait. No. To cooperate, to participate. Without trying to control all of it. Just be in it. Showing up fully in whatever the situation looks like. And being gentle with ourselves enough to forgive ourselves when we do try to make something happen that isn't happening. And so each one of us is blessed, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful not only to know that each person in this room is receiving a new idea, a new perspective, but also to know that whoever's hearing this and whoever's connecting with us together in consciousness is also invited to experience this new idea. To take our time. To allow time. And to remember that we all are here in our lives on this planet by divine appointment. So grateful, so blessed. I let it be. Amen. Ashe.